Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are focusing all our attention on one simple but, well, incredibly challenging concept.
Finding power in absolute stillness.
Exactly. We're looking at a body of material known as the logic of the lantern,
Mm-hmm.
and it promises, well, a kind of shortcut to managing conflict and authority.
That's right. Our mission in this deep dive is to really analyze the source material to understand the profound discipline it takes to stand your ground. The whole premise is radically counterintuitive. It suggests that mastering a conflict starts with mastering yourself, not the other person.
And the entire framework seems to hang on this one ancient and honestly paradoxical piece of advice. It's from Ecclesiastes 10.4. If the spirit of the ruler rise up against you, leave not your place, for yielding pacifies great offenses.
And that phrase right there, that's the core knot we need to untangle for you, because
Yeah.
the instant reaction for most people is just confusion. We're told not to move, but then we're also told to yield. I mean, those two things, being immovable and surrendering, they sound like they're complete opposites. How can yielding possibly resolve a conflict?
It really seems to fly in the face of every survival instinct,
Yeah.
fight or flight. If a ruler, and that could be a boss, an authority figure, or even just a tough situation, if it rises up against you, our modern impulse is to match that energy.
Right, to push back.
But the core idea here is that reacting in kind with anger only feeds the fire. So we're here to uncover this superior non-reactive strategy that's embedded in these sources.
Okay, so let's unpack that first mandate, to stay put.
The first critical instruction in the text is crystal clear. Leave not your place.
Hmm.
In the context of this philosophy, what exactly is this place? I mean, it can't just be a chair or a physical location.
No, and what's fascinating here is how the source material completely reframes location. It confirms the place isn't physical at all. It's defined as your ultimate position of rational power.
Rational path.
Think of it as your core competency and composure. When the spirit of the ruler, the anger, the pressure, the demand rises up, if you abandon your rational center to match their emotional pitch, you've immediately given up the single most valuable thing you have.
Which is your control over the whole interaction.
Exactly.
So if I leave my place, I'm not just stepping aside, I'm stepping into the conflict, but on their terms.
Yes, you're giving them the power to dictate the temperature of the room.
Oh.
And so remaining in your place, maintaining that calm reason center, is presented as the foundational act of self-control. This establishes the rule. True power flows from internal discipline, not from an aggressive external reaction.
When you leave that center, you lose your power base.
Yeah.
You become vulnerable.
You make irrational moves.
I can see this in, say, a corporate crisis. A CEO is under fire. If they immediately fire back with some aggressive, angry statement, they've left their place.
Perfect example.
They've just validated the critic's anger by showing it has the power to move them.
That's a perfect example of what the source calls the reaction trap. It points out that when conflict or authority rises up, it's actively looking for a reaction. It needs a target.
Right.
And if you move, if you match their anger, you not only escalate things, but you confirm that their attack worked. It was effective because it moved you.
The conflict wants you to move, to abandon the high ground of logic for the low ground of emotion.
But if you stand firm, if you maintain that rational control, the aggression just hits thin air. It has nowhere to go.
It starves the fire.
Exactly. By refusing to engage with the intensity, you reclaim the initiative. The other party, well, they suddenly realize they're spending all this energy for no visible effect. This non-movement is, in itself, the first strategic action.
But I need to push back on this a little.
Okay.
Doesn't maintaining that level of composure sometimes look like, I don't know, arrogance?
That's a critical question.
If the ruler's yelling at me and I just sit there looking serene, couldn't they see that stillness as passive aggression?
Yeah.
Or indifference? Couldn't that make them even angrier?
It could, and the philosophy isn't advocating for indifference or a smirk. Not at all. It's advocating for engagement from a position of stillness.
Okay.
The internal discipline means your mind is active, it's seeking a path, even if your emotional state is steady. The point isn't to ignore the ruler, it's to refuse to be governed by the ruler's emotion.
I see.
And when the ruler sees their anger hasn't forced you into an error, that is where the second part of the paradox comes in, the strategic yielding.
Okay, let's transition right there, because this is where the philosophy gets, I think, genuinely challenging, this idea of yielding. For most of us, yielding just means weakness. It's capitulation, it's handing over the keys.
Yeah.
So how does this philosophy reframe it as a strength?
The linguistic distinction is just It's vital here. In this context, yielding isn't surrendering your objective or your demands.
So what is it?
It is strategically surrendering your right to retaliate or your right to match their energy. If we connect it back to holding your place, yielding is the active decision to maintain a calm spirit against an opposition that wants to destabilize you.
So it's not about agreeing with them. It's about agreeing to pause the emotional escalation.
Precisely. It's an internal calculation, not a submission.
Okay.
Think about a high-stakes negotiation. One side starts shouting, using aggressive body language. The instinct is to shout back.
To match them, yeah.
Strategic yielding says, I'm going to let their aggression just dissipate. I'll absorb the shock like a foundation absorbs movement, but I will not move my position on the core issue. The aggressive energy of that great offense is pacified because it has no resistance to bounce off of.
It sounds a little bit like the philosophy behind Aikido, using the opponent's own force against them by just stepping out of the line of attack.
That's a great way to put it.
You don't meet force with force. You let it pass by, which neutralizes it.
Exactly. And the source drives this point home with this incredibly powerful statement that should really stick with you. It says, your stillness isn't a lack of action. It's the highest form of discipline.
That's good.
When you are strategically still, you're demonstrating superior command over yourself. And that command disarms the other party far more effectively than any counterargument ever could.
I appreciate that reframing. Stillness isn't inaction. It's peak disciplinary performance.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the costs. If I refuse to meet force with force, aren't I risking just getting steamrolled? What if the ruler's aggression is backed by, actual power?
And this is where we bring back the foundation analogy from the text. The conflict is like a massive storm. That's the rising spirit of the ruler. The key instruction is, don't let the storm move the foundation.
And the foundation is my internal calm.
Your internal integrity and strategic calm, yes. If you meet the storm with your own movement, you're just wasting your energy fighting the wind. You become part of the chaos.
So by yielding the emotional response, I conserve all my energy for the actual strategic move I need to make later.
It's resource conservation through discipline. Yielding, in this framework, is the strategic refusal to participate in that destructive dynamic. It reinforces the command to stay your ground by making sure the only thing the opponent is fighting is their own momentum.
And that momentum, without any fuel, will eventually just burn itself out.
Which is why it pacifies great offenses, because you refuse to supply the fuel.
Okay, so we've established the disciplined stillness. We've established the strategic choice yielding. But discipline without direction can lead to, just waiting passively.
Stagnation, yeah.
So if we maintain our grounded place and we use stillness, how do we find the path forward? What guides the action that eventually has to be taken?
And this is precisely why the entire philosophy is titled The Logic of the Lantern. You need clarity. You need it to act effectively after the initial pressure goes down. When conflict erupts, you're basically thrown into darkness, into confusion. Stillness is what's required to light the lantern, to stabilize your hand so you can see the path forward.
So the name isn't just poetic, it's actually instructional.
It's completely instructional. The stillness creates the necessary environment for guidance to even become visible.
Right.
And the source introduces this concept of a lamp to my feet, explaining the role of the word or scripture in providing this clarity. It serves as the necessary external light to navigate these difficult situations, especially when your gut instinct, which is usually fight or flight, is failing you.
That suggests that standing still isn't the final move. It's the move that buys you the time and the perspective to see the next move clearly.
That's it. You can't read a map if you're running in a panic through a dark forest.
You can't.
And they use this very powerful, detailed language to describe this guidance. They say it provides a 3D path through the dark forest of confusion.
A 3D path. What does that third dimension represent? I mean, if the first two dimensions are just the immediate conflict, you versus them, what's that third layer?
If we look at the source's interpretation, that third dimension is context and consequence.
Okay.
The 2D path is the simple binary choice, fight or flee. The 3D path, which is lit by the lantern, lets you see the terrain from above. You see the long-term consequences, the opponent's motives, maybe some non-obvious alliances, and most importantly, how your actions will shape your own future integrity.
That's a huge distinction. So the guidance from the lantern lets you evaluate not just what feels good now, but with strategic and sustainable later.
Yes, it elevates conflict resolution from just a reaction to, well, mastery.
It encourages a layered, nuanced approach.
The dark forest of confusion is where you are emotionally blinded by the rising spirit of the ruler. You need more than a flat roadmap, you need depth perception. And that guidance is only useful if you're still enough to even perceive it.
So if we synthesize all this for you, the listener, we've moved from a nice idea to a really clear three-part system for navigating opposition.
We have. First, you have to establish and maintain the position of power. That's always your internal place of composure.
Always.
Second, you utilize stillness as the highest discipline, recognizing that yielding pacifies by starting the conflict, not by surrendering.
And finally, once that chaos subsides, you follow the guided path. You use the perspective from a lamp to my feet to make your deliberate 3D move. But only when the foundation is steady and the confusion has lifted. It's a complete system.
And ultimately, the surprising lesson from the logic of the lantern is that true, enduring power isn't shown by external resistance, it's demonstrated by internal strategic stillness.
It totally redefines strength. You aren't strong because you can push back harder. You're strong because you can't be pushed.
Right. You redirect the opponent's energy by simply refusing to participate in their emotional dynamic.
You starve the fire by refusing to be flammable.
And this framework offers such a profound way to understand that self-control is never passive. It is the most active and formidable force you can deploy.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, as you move through your day? We spent this deep dive reinforcing this idea that the foundation of your stillness is the ultimate source of your power. The goal is to keep that foundation steady.
Before the storm.
Before the storm. So if that is true, if preparedness is everything, this raises a really important question that builds on all this. What are the daily, mundane, non-crisis actions you take to truly fortify that internal foundation before the storm of authority or opposition rises up? Because the time to build and reinforce the foundation with intention and discipline is always when the sun is shining. That is the true preparatory logic of the lantern.
A perfect place to leave this deep dive. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you next time.